I got it muted that time.
Huh?
So I got it muted that time.
Got what muted?
Before I sneezed.
Oh, I didn't hear you sneeze, so I assume so.
Yes.
Okay.
Are they coming in?
No.
Okay.
Okay. My aunt keeps wandering in and out of the door that goes to the garage. Like 4 times in the last 2 minutes. I'm like, what are you doing? Okay. You ready?
Yes.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hey there, Marvelites. Are you wondering just who is Cyril? Crap.
Glad I'm not the only one who does that.
Dude, I do it all the time. It's like my brain gets ahead of my mouth.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Hey there, Marvelites. Are you wondering just who is Silver Sable?
Is Moon Girl a member of the Fantastic Four now?
Can anyone keep all these Wakandan deities straight?
All this and more on this week's episode of the 6 Months Behind podcast.
Okay.
And no, good. I cannot keep the Wakanda deities straight.
Dude, we'll talk about it. Okay. 3, 2.
Hang on.
Okay.
I'm still getting pop-ups from the reboot. Okay.
Do you need to close some programs?
Not really. They're just going to keep popping up until it gets through, which I thought I had them all, but that should be the last of them.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
What is up? This is the 6 Month Behind podcast for the week of 5/28/18. I am Pat.
And I am Sean.
And this week, we are Steph Curry and LeBron James, and we're just here to make horrible officiating calls and break out into a fight and tell you everything that's there inside this week's Marvel Unlimited books. How you doing, man?
I'm good, dude. How are you? Yeah, if you didn't know, it's the NBA Finals. It's the Cavaliers and the Warriors again for the 4th year in a row. And they played game 1, and it was an utter travesty.
And we make the notes for those who don't, obviously, I mean, we don't just make this up as we go. Well, I do, but we make the notes early in the week and we, put all the stuff we're going to talk about together and assign the book, who's going to talk about what book, etc. And I think Tuesday or Wednesday, we decided, okay, once the Cavs made it, we'll be LeBron and Steph this week. And then, at the end of the game, J.R. Smith completely forgets how much time's on the clock. There's like a fight in overtime. A dude that should have gotten suspended for stepping on the court doesn't. It's just the whole game is just like, oh, good night, what just happened?
Yeah, it was a nightmare, and everybody was mad about it.
Everybody.
Except maybe Steph Curry.
Dude. Okay, y'all don't know this, but the recording of this podcast has been put off for 45 minutes while I've dealt with laptop issues. And I had just got a pop that said, hey, you've got updates waiting. You want to do them now? No, I don't. I really don't.
I just spent 45 minutes doing updates.
Trying to redo the updates and get this show on the road. The officials have come out since said, yeah, we missed those calls. They didn't suspend the dude that should have been suspended. Man, it was all bad, man.
It was not a good game.
And J.R. Smith was like, I knew exactly what I was doing. Then a day later, he was like, well, maybe I didn't exactly know what the score was.
You're a professional basketball player in the NBA Finals. How do you not?
I forget who shot the free throw, but they shoot it with like 4.7 seconds left, which in basketball is an eternity.
Yeah.
It bounces off the rim. J.R. Smith rebounds it. There's time to pass it to LeBron, who's wide open, time to do lots of things. And instead, Smith takes the ball far beyond the 3-point line and is in the process of running out the clock when LeBron yells at him, hey, the game is tied.
Yeah.
And J.R. Smith just kind of throws the ball toward the goal, hoping it goes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a Hail Mary shot to the goal.
Yeah, it was all bad, man. We got some good books this week, though.
Yeah. Hey, real quick.
Yes.
Why in the world? They play 7 games in the NBA Finals.
They play 7 games in every series now. Because they used to, like, in the first round, it'd be 5. And I think the second round was even 5. Dude, it's 7 games from the first series on after playing 82 regular season games.
Okay, so if you played a game every night, that's a week worth of games. Why are we doing the first game and taking 2 and 3 day pauses between games every game?
I don't know.
Why are we dragging 7 games out over a period of nearly 3 weeks?
I don't know.
It just
do it with each round, man. I have no idea.
It's June. Basketball should be over.
Yes, it should.
Anyway.
It absolutely should, man.
Yeah. If you want to email us about how you feel about NBA basketball, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That is the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
You can go to the website where there will be absolutely nothing about basketball, which is 6monthsbehind.com.
And you can check out our other show, What's Next, where we take a deep dive into the other stuff you should be reading on Marvel Unlimited. It's a much shorter show, usually about 20 minutes, and gives you some details on other good stuff to read.
Or you can go to our Twitter feed, and there will be, again, nothing there about basketball.
No, but maybe something about Dungeons and Dragons.
I saw that today. I'm sure there is. You're excited.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, you guys probably know because you're all nerds. Wizards of the Coast is releasing new adventures for Dungeons and Dragons, and there's been a big event about it, and I'm super excited. Anyway, you had a comic book you wanted to talk about before we get into our regular books. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. We do talk about spoilers, so this is your warning because I'm not sure what's going to come out of my mouth at this point, or his mouth. So you've been warned. First off, I got Superman #1 this week by Bendis, which you could just call it Superman Disassembled if you wanted to. Did you read it?
I think no, but I've had a feeling it was going to take that formula.
It is, and Jim Lee and Dan Didio Didio have already said, yes, we're retooling the universe with this, and yeah, man, that's what he's doing.
What's so funny is that for, I don't know, 2 or 3 months now, Bleeding Cool has been saying, yeah, DC is going to restructure their universe, and DC keeps saying, no, we're not, and then they are.
They rewrote all the Kryptonian history in one book. Okay, yeah. Everything you know about Krypton, they rewrote in one issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, anywho, that was first thing. Second thing was, I got a copy of the previews for the books that are coming out in a couple of months, and this gets real confusing because when I get a previews, I get it this week. It's for books that are shipping in August that we'll be reading in February.
Right,
I'm 6 months behind. So to really, if all you read is Marvel Unlimited, you're going to see them 8 months from now. However, here's why I felt it was relevant. Is because Marvel has really taken a beating over the last 6 months, year, 10 years, okay, for a while now, for their comic books. And I'm reading this previews, and this one's got the relaunch of the Fantastic Four in it. It's got a couple of X events in it. It's got the Infinity Wars book in it. Yeah, all this is shipping in August. There's a lot of good stuff there, and what they've done, they basically scrapped the whole Marvel Legacy project, fired Axel Alonso, fired Axel Alonso, and just said, okay, let's start over. And when I was reading this previews, I realized I really think they have a direction and they're going in it. They kept the books that are good. Some of which people aren't going to like. I mean, they kept Squirrel Girl, dude. They kept Spider-Man and Deadpool. They kept all the X-Men books. and then they retool some other things. They're bringing they're bringing Stephen Strange back as Doctor Strange. They're bringing Thor back as Thor, or Odinson, I should say.
Yeah. When was Doctor Strange not Doctor Strange?
Last week when Loki was the Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, okay. You mean they're bringing him back as the Sorcerer Supreme?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of good books there, and I'm really glad to see that they seem to be streamlining their titles, keeping the good ones, getting rid of the dead weight, and doing some solid stuff. It looks encouraging.
Their sales would portend that this has been a good move for them. I think it's a little early to say that, but they've had a slight uptick. You got Jason Aaron doing Avengers now, and his first story seems to be intriguing. So, yeah, it's a little early yet, but we'll see. And looking at what's coming, I mean,
that's the thing. I mean, I'm buying it off the stand. I read this previews to see what's coming. There's good stuff on the newsstand now that obviously we'll get an unlimited in 6 months. There's good things coming in August, so I was just like, okay, there's hope. There's for us Marvel fanboys, there's hope.
The real issue becomes, is Marvel going to switch strategies again after they see 3 months worth of books being sold and go, oh, it's not working, throw everything overboard, instead of just digging into their trenches and sticking with it for a little while to really see where it goes?
It appears with the creators that they have now, the artists, the writers, that they're sticking their heels in the ground and saying, this is where we make our stand. And that's really, it's encouraging. Dan Slott, that's who's writing Fantastic Four. I couldn't remember that for anything. Sarah Pichelli is drawing it, who of course did Fiddle. Secret Empire stuff. She's did Secret Empire. She's done a bunch of stuff. She's done some Old Man Logan stuff.
Secret Empire, did she?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm thinking of Secret Wars. That was Esad Ribic.
Yes, Esad Ribic's doing something else in here too. Esad Ribic is doing I don't remember, man. I mean, I had all this fresh in my mind when I read it yesterday or Friday. Yeah. But Esad Ribic's doing a book in here too. Oh, he's doing the Infinity Wars book. No, Mike Diodato Jr. is doing the Infinity Wars book.
Yeah.
That was another one of the things that got me excited is some of this art for the Infinity Wars book. It's written by Jerry Dugan. It's drawn by Mike Diodato Jr. Dude, it looks good, man. It looks good. Oh, Esad Ribic is doing no, I thought he was doing this X-Men crossover, and he's not. That's a guy named Pepe Larraz. I don't remember, man. And I'm not going to make everyone suffer while I look for it.
Okay. Either way, Esad Ribic's doing stuff with Marvel these days. Who's not doing stuff with Marvel or anyone else is Stuart Eminem, who announced his retirement from comics after Spider-Man 800.
Really?
So, yeah. He's moving on to other ventures. He hasn't announced anything, but I would assume he's got something going on.
You would think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, but he's out, which is a bummer because that guy's a talented artist.
Yeah, he is. And you and I have worried about the number of artists that Marvel is losing, and talent. Period. Both in the form of
both
writers and artists.
Yeah.
Yes. And they've got some good people left, man.
Oh, sure. I mean, they've got a tremendous pool of talent. Excuse me. I've been stifling that yawn for minutes, and I couldn't do it anymore.
I was looking to see if we were buffering or something. That's what led to the 45-minute delays. We were buffering so bad. Suddenly I look up as I'm still flipping pages, and I'm like, what's happening? What?
Sorry. No, they've got plenty of artists and writers. It's just that, they lost Bendis and a bunch of others. And if I had to guess, they're going to lose Alex Maleev too, because he's going to follow Bendis to DC. And, I think things are turning around for Marvel, but things were kind of bad for a hot minute.
Oh, dude, it's been bad for a couple of years. Let's not kill ourselves.
Yeah. Speaking of kidding ourselves, let's get into the books this week, because
Sure.
we didn't have a ton of books, and I felt that most of them were lackluster at best, and others were just downright awful.
I enjoyed some of them, and it's and a couple of them surprised me. So there you go. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's talk about them.
Yeah, starting with Spider-Man, we have Spider-Man Renew Your Vows number 13. As we see from the cover, the title of this new story is 8 years later. So it's 8 years from where we picked up last time. May Parker, their daughter, is now a teenager. She's like 15, 16 years old. She's training with her dad and Wolverine in the Danger Room, has been doing that for a few years. But it's time to start school again. She's going to be a sophomore. Her and her mother decide, or Peter and her mother, Mary Jane, decide to do a family fun day outing before school starts back. So they go to Coney Island, and the lizard's there. And it turns out this day in the park is not going to be such a day in the park. So, yeah. The book looks good. That's about the best thing I can say about this book.
And I didn't think it was terrible.
It wasn't awful, and I'm interested to see where it goes now that she's a little older. It's I don't know, man. We'll see.
It's one of those that's still running that hasn't been canceled. So if you were hoping it was going away, it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it's selling, but apparently well enough that, Marvel's keeping it around.
I guess. The art looks great. The art's really good, but otherwise, I wasn't impressed.
I understand. Next, we have, is it Spider-Man Deadpool or Deadpool Spider-Man? Spider-Man Deadpool number 24. This book is nothing but a money grab.
Mm-hmm.
This whole series, I mean, from issue 1 on, not just this issue, but it sells very well for Marvel. It's entertaining, and if again, it's one of the books that hasn't been canceled, so
it has its moments. It's had good moments, but mostly it's just it's a thrown together money grab so you can put Spider-Man and Deadpool on a cover and sell a comic book.
Yeah, and sell 100,000 copies a month, which Marvel doesn't have many comics that are selling 90 to 100,000 a month. This one does, so God bless them. To recap, S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, ceased to exist, so Deadpool began hijacking their hardware and software, and he's, of course, appropriated the helicarrier. They're on their way to some place where they had animals stored. Husk is there waiting on them. Paige Guthrie, which she's in another book this week, so I'm trying to figure out how she's in 2 places at the same time. It's okay. At the end, the villain's revealed. It's an old Spider-Man villain, which this week we had a very old Spider-Man villain and a very old Hulk villain, and I'm not particularly happy about either one of them. But if you're a fan of the Shyamalan and you haven't, is that pronounced correctly? And you haven't seen him in
what? Shyamalan. What's a Shyamalan?
Chamelon. It's a little bug that changes colors all the time.
You mean
like a lizard? Chameleon. Thank you. Chameleon. Thank you. I told you I was pronouncing it wrong.
Wow, man. Yeah.
Dude, I was never hooked on phonics. Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to do math in my head? I got it. You want me to pronounce words? You're talking to the wrong person, man.
Okay.
You're laughing so hard your camera is vibrating. Seriously.
Oh, Lord.
Amanda, you may have been in this family text or you may not have, but Amanda is asking me about the percentage a couple of weeks ago. And I'm like, it's easy. It's this, and this. And she's like, what'd you say? And I'm like, the formula's typed out right there on your phone. It's this. And she's like, yeah, no. I'm like,
Yeah, I remember that. Her and I have also had conversations about your questionable grammar skills.
dude, they're horrible.
At least you admit it.
I don't deny it, man. They're atrocious. But I don't get paid for my grammar. I get paid for my math.
Yeah, no, hey, look, I can't do math to save my life. So,
one of the vendors we deal with, okay, they're just got this continual rotation of inside salespeople, and it's an old guy that's about 65 who owns it, and then his 2 or 3 sons run it, and this is chasing a squirrel off to the woods, but we're going into it. Okay, so just hold on.
Okay.
So, and Rocky's been over there. I've met Ben because Ben's come to see me. That's the owner's son, but I've never been over there and seen it. Rocky's like, man, all these girls are cute. I was like, well, they need to be cute because they're dumb as rocks. Okay. There's like 8 inside salespeople over there. It's Ben who's in charge of sales, a guy named Don Freeze, and a bunch of people who don't know their head from a hole in the ground. Finally, one day, I'm like talking to Ben. I'm like, dude, how can these girls not give me a cost? How hard is it for them to look up what you paid for it, take that number and mark it up 40% or whatever you tell them to and say, here's your price? How hard is that? And apparently it's harder than I think it is for most people. If you bought it for $1, sell it for $1.45 and make 40%.
Listen, I'm not great at math, but even I can do that.
Dude, these people can't. I mean, they see $2.67 and they say, oh my God, what do I do? Well, 10% of 267 is 26.7 cents.
Yeah.
You multiply that by 4. Okay, that's $1. Let's sell it for $3.75. We just made 40%. How about that?
Dude, yeah.
These people can't do it. People are incapable of it. And this is dude, I had you think I've had rants on this podcast? I had a rant out of McDonald's on the way down here. First, we get ignored for 10 minutes in the drive-thru. Then Amanda and I get in a screaming match about whether we're going inside or we're going to sit in the drive-thru line. I go inside. They got that stupid little kiosk that you pay at now and pick your order. I don't want to do that. Okay. I don't want to go through and pick out the burgers I want and the drinks I want because we're all on this freaking diet. I walked up there, stand at the counter for like 5 minutes. Finally, I get a manager and the place is in chaos because the manager has an IQ of like 90. Anybody who has a brain is just ignoring her and doing whatever they want to do. I'm just like, really? And one of the girls was like, shit, yeah, I told you the buzzer wasn't working back there on that drive-thru, so we don't know when someone's there. Oh, well, there you go. Let's just keep it that way. Takes like 10 minutes more to get my burgers. Okay. It was get gas, run in McDonald's real quick, get back on the road. Instead, we're in Fulton, Mississippi for like 35 minutes. And you wonder why I'm wound up tonight.
Dude. I understand those people make minimum wage flipping burgers and deal with crappy people all the time, but dude, that ain't hard. That
it's just not. And the girl's like, yeah, we know that the buzzer's out in the drive-thru, and I'm like, you got a camera right there. Why don't somebody just look at the camera occasionally and see if there's a car there,
or put a sign outside that says something.
Anything.
Let your customers know that it's not working and they need to come inside.
And then I come to the counter and they're like, well, you can order at the kiosk. I don't want to order at the freaking kiosk. I want to talk to a manager. Are you the manager? Good. Let me talk to you.
Yeah.
And I've calmed down since. So that should tell you how irritated I was then.
Yeah. Well,
table number 151, which you didn't like and I did.
Well, since you're on a rant, I'm going to kind of rant about this book. So it's a new storyline where somebody murdered this Kendra lady who's a member of the Externals who no one remembers. And Cable's put together a team to investigate her death. I don't know who. It seems like this would be a really good story if I knew who any of these characters were.
Dude, these are all X-Men characters, man.
If you say so.
It's Laura Kinney.
I know who Laura Kinney is.
It's Longshot.
I know who Longshot is. I know who Dupe is. I know who Shatterstar is.
It's Shatterstar. That's the one I was trying to think of. I don't have the book open in front of me. It's Shatterstar, man. What?
Okay, but who's this purple dude and these other two ladies? And
I don't know. I don't have the book open.
The guy in the robe who looks like Magneto but isn't. Anyway, they're investigating this lady's death, and they recruit both Laura Kinney and Armor to do it, to add them to the team. They meet some guy in the woods of Washington who supposedly knows something about it, and then there's something going on in Mongolia, and then Blink shows up. Again, this would probably be a good story if I had any context of who all these people are. But,
yeah, I understand.
But, much like Peter David likes to do, he just likes to throw characters in without any, hey, remember this person? We haven't seen them since 1993. Maybe you should do a little introduction.
Yeah, okay.
You liked it, and that's fine. I'm not saying the book's bad. I just don't. I feel like I would, even if there were a little blurb in the back to be like, these are who the externals were. This is who this person is. This is why this is relevant. But if I'm a modern a modern day comic book fan, I'm picking this up off the shelf, I have no idea who any of these people are. It's only because I'm a huge nerd that I know who Dupe and Shatterstar and Longshot are.
Yeah. I get that, but I do know who all these characters are, except for the externals. I don't know who they are. But
okay, can you explain it to me? Can you explain to me what happened in this book?
No, I can explain to you Gen X number 9, which is what I'm ready to talk about. I actually can't because it was a week ago when I read it, and no.
Okay.
I mean, I understand what's happening.
I understand what's happening too, but I have no context to who these characters are, and all the story beats fall flat because I don't have the context to appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Sorry I wasn't reading externals in 1991. I was a year and a half old.
Is that where the externals came from?
Beats me. Have no idea.
We have Gen X number 9, and I'm just not into this book. It wasn't bad. I mean, last issue the team got a building dropped on them, so Jubilee and I think Bling, I'm not sure, are trapped underground. You got this dude whose name is literally Eye Boy. Okay, true. Got eyes all over him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only person there who's interesting is Quentin Quire. And, he throws his temper tantrum, hurts some of his teammates. They finally rescue Jubilee, who's got the whole vampire thing going. So she has to drink some blood out of dude's arm. And then her baby sees it and gets all freaked out because she's got blood all over her face. And I was trying to remember which book I'd seen Paige Guthrie in, and it's this one. It's just, it's okay.
Yeah.
You got star-crossed lovers. I don't care.
Yeah. So the externals, their first appearance was in X-Force number 10 in May of 1992.
Okay.
They're all part of, and I get it. They're all connected because Cable was the leader of X-Force for years. And I understand that these characters have a connection with one another, but it's been 1992, man. A little run up would have been nice.
I understand. I understand.
That was 27 years ago.
Yes.
But anyway, apparently each of the externals is supposed to represent some intangible concept.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway.
It's been so long since I've read that X-Force book, I don't even remember it.
Precisely. That's the problem. That's the whole problem.
Okay.
It's the Peter David syndrome. You're going to bring up all these characters that you remember, but no one else does. Anyway, X-Men Gold number 16 was a much better book than the rest of
it. It was a much better book.
Yeah. So we're starting a new story, sort of, called the Negative Zone War. Remember that alien that the X-Men found and have been keeping in their basement for a little while?
I think they did a whole issue on his origin, and at the time you and I were like, why?
Yeah. Well, this is why. They did a whole issue on his origin. He's basically a space Nazi from the Negative Zone. the X-Men are doing their thing at the mansion. Kitty Pryde's appearing on a daytime talk show to debate mutantism.
I thought you were like Kitty and Peter were doing their thing.
They're doing their thing too.
Is this the first time in a comic book we've ever seen them do that?
I seriously doubt it.
Well, but here's the thing. I read an article, and I don't think I posted it on the website, and we never talked about it. But when their relationship began, she was like 13 and he was 20.
Yeah, her age has always kind of been nebulous. It's always kind of changed to fit the writer's stories, but yeah, she was a young teenager and he was not.
He was not. No.
Even
when they first kissed. Yeah. And the story I read, I mean, really goes into depth, all the issues and what's happened. And it was, she appeared in like Uncanny 140, I think. And it's like 170. She has a crush on him in her first appearance, but it's like 170 or 180 before they kiss. And okay, at that point, maybe she's 15 or 16 and he's 22 or 23. Dude.
Yeah, and this is this is not that long ago. It was the mid 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, you're still in Alabama territory there.
Yeah, you're in Roy Moore territory.
Thank you. That's the name I was trying to think of. Yeah, I knew you'd get it for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a big unity rally for the mutants in Central Park at the X Mansion when the space Nazis arrive from the negative zone to rescue their leader. There's a big old fight. A couple of the X-Men get stuck on the alien ship, which goes back to the negative zone, which means all the other X-Men are going to have to go to the negative zone to get them back and rescue them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the negative zone, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, it's in the title.
The next issue is called something in the negative zone, so we're assuming that's the case.
Yeah, because the DC has something similar to it that I can always get the two mixed up. The negative zone, and I forget what DC's is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
next
it was a much better book than the other X books this week.
I understand. Next we have Royals, number 11. Yeah, Al Ewing is writing this, and he's written some good stuff. The problem is this is issue number 11. And in issue number 11, he's just beginning to have this whole thing that's been going on for not 11 issues, but years, because we've had these spires bouncing up since before IVX.
Yeah.
So it's 3 or 4 years. They've been working on this storyline. And the problem is everyone stopped buying the book months ago. And now you get to issue 11 of this series with a 3 or 4 year old storyline. I don't think there's anybody reading it, but those of us who are reading it on Unlimited, I know it's been canceled, and I think they're killing all the Inhumans.
I think they're killing all the Inhumans. I hope.
Yeah. So you've got this character here who's 5,000 years old. I don't know if it's Black Bolt or Maximus. I've kind of confused, and I think they're kind of leaving you in doubt. The villains are called help me out. Progenitors, I believe is the correct pronunciation, but we've already been over my grammar skills.
No, you got that right.
And apparently what happened is in 2018, Medusa and her team irritate the progenitors, and then 5,000 years from now, they come back to Earth to destroy Earth, to take it over. So, and they're inside the mothership and basically inside the brain, and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff in there, which irritate them. They find a way to leave. Dude with a foot, with a hoofs. Gorgon, thank you. Gorgon stays behind to save them all. Apparently he's going to die. He and Medusa have what appears to be their first and last kiss. There you go. And I'm soft selling this, but this is actually a good issue. The problem is we all stopped caring a long time ago.
Yeah, it's too little too late.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking forward to issue 12, but there's no way I'm going to go back and reread all these books to try and figure out what's going on. Because a lot of times we'll say, oh, this will be good in a trade. You know what? It won't, because all those other issues will still suck trying to get you here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Monsters Unleashed #8. Do we care?
I'll get into it a little bit. The name of this story arc is "And Lo, There Came a Poison." So in the last issue, this really messed up version of Fin Fang Foom shows up and tries to start a fight with Kid Kaiju. Then the actual Fin Fang Foom shows up, and on the first page, he's mad because this fight has pulled him away from his farm. Remember the Fin Fang farm?
Seriously?
Yeah.
He's mad because he's not on the Fin Fang farm anymore.
Yes.
God bless CM Punk. He has a legacy.
Here, let me read it for you.
By the way, in a court hearing Thursday, turns out CM Punk stands for chick magnet.
Oh my God.
He had to say that under oath. There's just a whole long story, okay? But we've already chased like 3 rabbits, and we don't need to chase another one. But that's what CM stands for.
Okay, so let me just read the line to you, and just pretend you're hearing this in Fin Fang Foom's voice. If you don't know who Fin Fang Foom is, he's a big dragon.
Oh, we're having fun tonight.
Yeah. I knew peace and happiness. Do you understand how rare, how temporary it is for one such as myself? I had a farm. The time of harvest drew nigh. I was looking forward to tending my fields, to growing something rather than destroying it. But now my crops will go untended.
Oh, I muted my microphone at one point because I thought I was going to fall out of the chair. Oh Lord, that's bad. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, that's the writing prowess of Cullen Bunn for you.
Again, he's a dude that can write, man. But what is this? I mean, just what is
this is an all ages book. This is a kid's book. It's about monsters, so that's fine. The issue proceeds to entail a fight between the real Fin Fang Foom and the imposter Fin Fang Foom. The only real point of interest here is that we find out that this Fin Fang Foom, the imposter, is actually the Fin Fang Foom that has been infected by the poisons. From
I don't know and don't care.
From Venomverse.
Okay, sure.
He's the Venomverse version of Fin Fang Foom.
Okay, sure.
And apparently the poisons from that universe are trying to use Kid Kaiju to invade this universe. That's what's going on here. Now, understand this is an all ages book. This is for children. Is it really a good idea to be tying a children's book into another Marvel storyline about body snatching from aliens and horrible violence? Tying these two stories together is probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, it's just Fin Fang Foom fighting Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah.
Wasn't bad. Wasn't bad, but if anybody's listened to this podcast for any length of time, they know my feelings on Fin Fang Foom.
There are certain characters we saw. Who did we see earlier? The chameleon.
Yeah,
and we're gonna see the Puppet Master soon.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with these characters if you use them once every 5 years. Okay, you're like it's. Triple H puts it like this: when somebody gets hurt in the roster, when there's a problem in the ring, okay, somebody failed a drug test, somebody gets suspended, somebody gets fired, and they need somebody to step in the moment's notice. In the WWE, Triple H is always in shape and he's always there. Okay, he calls it the break glass in case of emergency thing.
Yeah,
Marvel has these things like the Puppet Master, who we'll see in a few issues, and they're there, and they're good if they're only used sparingly. once every few years. Okay.
Mhm.
Fin Fang Foom, we're just seeing everywhere all the time. And when he appeared in an Iron Man book once every 3 or 4 years, you're like, okay, cool. You know, it's Fin Fang Foom. And he always showed up. God, what's the guy with the 10 rings? He always showed up with him, the Mandarin. The Mandarin.
Yeah.
He always showed up with the Mandarin, you know, and they were always kind of connected somehow. So it's pretty cool. Now he's just everywhere. And you're like, please stop. Just
And
stop,
the thing is,
man.
he's a silly gimmick villain like MODOK.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and MODOK's everywhere too all the time. You're just like, man, make it stop. No.
And Arcade's been showing up a lot lately.
Yeah, these guys are just being overused. And you know, and there's a
guys, you've got way better villains than this. I understand sometimes you want to use MODOK for comedic effect, or the same with Arcade, but like when they put Arcade up against Elektra, that didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't even know what book I saw the Puppet Master in. I know I was reading something and he was
Luke Cage book.
Oh, it's that Luke Cage book.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, it's the Puppet Master. I haven't seen him in a decade. You know, okay, cool. All right, I'll go with it.
And understand,
not the Puppet Master, the Ringmaster. I'm sorry, he's the Ringmaster. The Puppet Master is the villain of the Fantastic Four. That makes both stuff out of clay. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Either way, like, this is Monsters Unleashed. It makes sense for Fin Fang Foom to show up in this book, but the writing for Fin Fang Foom was bad. Like, Fin Fang Foom should be scary. He's an ancient dragon.
Yeah.
But they treat him like he's just a goof, and I don't know. It doesn't do him any service. You can take Fin Fang Foom and make him scary. He should be.
He should be.
But instead he's a gimmicky, weird character.
Yes.
That being said, Monsters Unleashed is selling really well for Marvel in the all ages category. So what do we know?
What do we know, man?
Yeah.
All New Wolverine number 27 is Orphans of X number 3, part 3.
Why wasn't this in our X-Men books? This should have been an X-Men book.
You know, because I got confused.
Okay.
Because I'm sitting there at 11:30 at night, having gotten up at 4:30 in the morning, tired, throwing the notes together.
It's fun.
And I'm sitting there thinking...
It just occurred to me now, I was like, this should have been an X-Men.
Well, yeah, and as I was looking at how they were divided up in the previews, I thought, yeah, this should be an X-Men book. But, you know...
It's whatever.
I just didn't. Anywho, a couple of issues ago, Dakin was used as bait to draw out Laura Kinney, X-23. Along the way, she found her mother. They're on a safe house with Laura's relatives, and I just forgot the little girl's name. The little other short clone, Gabby, is there, and Dakin's all freaked out because, he's just, had his arm cut off and he's been tortured for days. So
yeah,
he's not in the best of moods.
He's traumatized.
Yeah. And as he's explaining, when he was being tortured, he was seeing what was going on in the house. And Laura's like, no, we've swept the house repeatedly. There's nothing here. He's like, yeah, there is. No, there's not. Yes, there is. No, there's not. He starts putting rounds into Laura's mom. Turns out it's not Laura's mom. It's some kind of clone who is, somehow possessed by the Orphans of X. And after she and Dakin throw down for a few pages, which is very good, they start speaking to her through the clone. Turns out she's got some kind of camera eyes or something. I don't know. Really good book. Really, really good book. At the end, we get an appearance by another hero, and they take out that other hero. Just it's a good issue, man. It's a good storyline.
Yeah, this all new Wolverine book has been good from the get-go, and we're 27 issues in. This Orphans of X story is interesting. I don't know that they have been around before this storyline, the Orphans of X.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they're new, but if you don't know who they are, it's basically anyone who gets killed by a mutant. It's their children or their family or their legacy, those orphaned by X-Men. They're retaliating against the mutants. They're an anti-mutant pro-human brigade. And they want to kill all the mutants. And they're the ones who were torturing Dakin for so long and cut his arm off.
Yeah. It's and here's a thought. rather than using Fing Fang Foom or MODOK, somebody created a new villain. There's a concept.
Well, that's happened, but I'm with you. You can always come up with new stuff.
Yes. Black Panther number 167.
This is a good book, and it always is because
It really is
writing it. I was kind of bummed out when Brian Stelfreeze left this book and wasn't doing the art anymore. But Leonard Kirk has picked it up, and he's actually doing a really good job. This book looks really good. So T'Challa has recruited Thunderball, Dr. Franklin, who we saw a couple issues ago, to help him solve this issue that's going on in Wakanda with their. It seems that the Wakandan pantheon of gods has gone missing. They have disappeared. As such, all of these creatures are coming out from another dimension. So Dr. Franklin and T'Challa get together and teleport themselves into the Jalia, which is if you saw the movie, it's like that spirit realm of Wakanda. It's basically the living memory of Wakandan history. And it's explained to them the origins of the Wakandan people, that there were creatures and civilizations that lived on this land before the Wakandans showed up. And they lived in peace for a time, but then there was conflict. Out of that conflict came the various deity aspects of their pantheon, Konu, Majaji, and of course Bast, which is the panther god that they revere above all. And that these gods were able to take these originating creatures, which they call originators, and seal them away in other dimensions, and allowing the Wakandans to claim the land. And they have stood sentry at these dimensional gates for thousands of years. Well, now they're gone and all those creatures are coming back. So now with that knowledge, T'Challa has to come up with a plan on how to defeat them or whatever he's going to do with them.
I laughed because there was a Saturday Night Live skit with the guy that used to be on Nickelodeon and is 40 now when he's on SNL.
Oh, Kenan Thompson.
I keep wanting to say Kenan Ivory Wayne, and so I knew that wasn't right. Kenan Thompson, they're in that spirit realm, and it's just funny, man. It was just funny. It was anyway. When you started talking about the spirit realm, I had a flashback to it. Anywho, yes, that was a good book. It's hard to keep track of everything that Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing there, but it was a really good book. I've enjoyed it, and I enjoyed this issue.
What I enjoy is the kind of world building that Coates is doing in the book. He's exploring more of Wakandan history and fleshing that out, and that's something I enjoy. Yeah.
Next, we have Iron Man 594, and apparently they've taken. I'm asking this as a question.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they canceled the two Iron Man, or one of the Iron Man books, which you had Ironheart in a book and Dr. Doom in a book, and now it's a combined book, which is the Invincible Iron Man. This is issue 2, legacy numbering 594.
Maybe it was this Iron Man book and then Infamous Iron Man. I don't think so.
I think Infamous Iron Man got canceled because as you read this book, you have two storylines here. One is Dr. Doom fighting all the villains who escaped from the raft. And that's extremely entertaining because at first they didn't buy Dr. Doom going straight. Now that he has gone straight and he's picked up the mantle of Iron Man, they're not happy with it. And, they're kind of putting a beat down on him, and they do put a beat down on him. At the same time, he's fighting all these villains. Ironheart, Mary Jane, and Tony's mom, whose name just completely escaped me, are getting tossed out of Stark Industries. And matter of fact, they're having a board meeting and telling them, "Hey, you're not wanted here." About that time, a guy named Hijack, who's a mutant, shows up, and it's pretty funny. It's actually a good read. Dude, it's Bendis. Of course, it's a good read. He shows up. He's like, "Hey, I need the armor." Talking to Ironheart, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't think so." He's like, "Yeah, I really do. And they're paying me good. And this is kind of just a job. So come on, help brother out." And she's like, "No, I don't think so." So she takes to the air and he starts commandeering all kinds of fighter aircraft and other cars and things to fight her with. And finally, Riri's like, "Hey, Mary Jane, is that dude still standing there?" "Yeah." "Okay, do me a favor, go up and take him out." And Mary Jane just walks up and sprays him with mace because he's so distracted from trying to fight Riri Ironheart that he can't fight Mary Jane at the same time. And he's a huge fan of Mary Jane Watson. He's followed her acting career, her modeling career, and it's a great book. And at that point, I was going to say they go back into the boardroom. They actually storm back into the boardroom, and the guy who's doing the hostile takeover, Tony's mom, I really need to remember what her name is, takes her guitar out, explains that it's got Keith Moon's chip tooth in it, a couple other people. He just starts beating the guy up with the guitar.
Who's Keith Moon?
Is that a joke?
Nope.
You don't know who Keith Moon is?
Nope.
Keith Moon was the original drummer of The Who. And if John Bonham and Neil Peart are the greatest drummers of all time, then Keith Moon comes in third.
Oh, okay.
And there was a point in the 60s and 70s where album to album, John Bonham and Keith Moon were trying to up each other. And John did there's a Led Zeppelin song called Four Sticks where he plays with 4 drumsticks and it's just this big thundering sound. And it's where he's basically saying, "Hey, Keith Moon, top this."
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Unfortunately,
right. Cool.
Moon, was an addict who eventually, did what addicts do and died.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it's behind Neil Peart and John Bonham, Keith Moon's one of the he and John Bonham. Neil Peart's got the advantage of all the electronics. If you've ever seen Neil Peart's kit, David Letterman called it a time machine one time because it literally encircles him. John Bonham and Keith Moon were doing this with 7-piece drum kits, and they made this huge thunder sound. That's who Keith Moon is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Were you done talking about Iron Man?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Did you?
Yeah, her beating people up with a guitar, which had Keith Moon's tooth in it, was the end of the issue.
Yeah, you're right. Infamous Iron Man was canceled at number 12, which we've read. So.
Yeah, I mean, I thought from reading this in the last issue, I had the idea that they combined them. I just wasn't certain. I mean, I didn't know that anywhere for certain. I just, I was gathering. It was implied. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer because I really enjoyed that book.
Well, dude, it's half of this book. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you put that Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale book on there intentionally?
Yeah, because at some point, I mean, we gotta. Okay, if we're going to talk about Monsters Unleashed, we probably need to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale series. Well, apparently,
the reason we don't talk about some of those books is that they're digital books and they're not on the newsstands.
And but it's showing up in Unlimited, and it's a video. It's some kind of game, man. And I don't care. It's they fought the Blood Brothers and they fought Thanos, and it was okay. The art was mediocre. You think the writing was bad in that Monsters Unleashed book, man? And this is a book designed for kids. Okay, it's not all ages book. Writing in this is bad, man. It's bad. And what's worse is it's one of those issues where, Peter Quill beats the Blood Brothers almost by accident. Thanos, they beat Thanos. This just doesn't happen in the 616 universe. And it just kind of, I didn't like it very much.
I got you. That's a bummer because those Telltale games are really good. In fact, I haven't played the Guardians of the Galaxy one, but apparently the writing in that is really good. And they have a ton of games. I mean, they have a Guardians of the Galaxy, Batman, Werewolf by Night, all of them.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with them?
No, not at all.
They're not so much video games as they are interactive storytelling, and you get different story beats depending on what decisions you make, but it's basically like watching an interactive movie.
Oh, okay. I mean, there was some. I'm trying to find it. Anyway, there was just some bad writing in here. You think the bad writing in another book, too. And it was the wording. It was something Gamora said, or I don't know. There was somewhere it was bad. I'm trying to thumb through trying to find it. I can't find it.
Okay. Moving on to Luke Cage 167, written by David F. Walker and fantastic art by Guillermo Sana. The story in this is a little silly. You got the Ringmaster, who is another one of those D-list villains who has psychic powers, and he's taken over a prison for reasons we don't understand yet. And it's all about Luke Cage has been roped into this, and his brain is trying to break him out of the psychic trance that he's been put in, but Ringmaster's working against him. Somebody in the prison comes to him and he's like, look, something weird's going on here. The reason I know this is because I don't know who I am. I don't know my name. I don't remember what I did outside this prison or who my family is. But what I do remember is you're Luke Cage and you're a superhero. And Luke Cage is like, I'm no superhero. What are you talking about? And it's that whole struggle. There's a big prison fight at the Luke's Springs reassert. So Ringmaster uses a bunch of prison thugs to beat the crap out of him. And then they take him to some mine shaft under the prison where apparently no one ever comes back from. The story is meh. The art is great. The art's really good in this book.
It's not a style that I like, but the art combined with the shading and the color, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's got that kind of like Mike Mignola feel to it.
Yeah, and we've discussed it before. I prefer photorealistic art, which this isn't. But there's a whole thing going on with the art and the colors and the shading in people's faces that does make it look good.
Yeah. And then the same thing can be said for Moon Girl number 25, art by Natasha Bustos. Also looks really good here. In Moon Girl's lab, she's teamed up with Ben Grimm, the Thing, and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. And because they're clearing out the old Baxter building because it's no longer owned by anyone, it's not the Parker Industries headquarters anymore. They're literally just boxing up all of Mr. Fantastic's old stuff and getting rid of it. So Ben Grimm is bringing it to Moon Girl because he feels that she would appreciate all his old stuff, which is where they find a box with Herbie in it, who's just been deactivated for years. And that's weird because Herbie showed up in
Monsters Unleashed
a couple weeks ago. Maybe you can make the case that this is an old model of Herbie, whereas the one we see in Monsters Unleashed is a normal or a more modern one. I don't know. Either way, she's goofing off with all the Mr. Fantastic stuff. Ben and Johnny are kind of lamenting the passing of the Fantastic Four. Somebody is masquerading as the Fantastic Four and perpetrating heists all over the city. Meanwhile, Moon Girl's at her listening post outside her lab, and she's actually been looking for Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm all this time, but hasn't been able to find them. So then Silver Surfer shows up, says, Moon Girl, I have a message for you. Guess what? Galactus is here. And Galactus shows up, and apparently he needs to talk to Moon Girl. So we'll figure out what that's about in the next issue.
Well, if Squirrel Girl beat him and now Moon Girl beats him, I'm just going to lose all respect for Galactus.
Well, remember, Galactus is the good guy now. He's the life bringer.
Yes.
So he'll be all right. He's a good guy now.
Yeah, apparently. So I'm thinking about the book that comes after this one, so I got to reboot real quick. Silver Sable and the Wild Pack. This is one of these one-shots that Marvel's doing. It's number 36. It's really just a one-shot. It's got a Jim Steranko homage cover. Jim Steranko's art in the Nick Fury series, and it's particularly his covers, were very groundbreaking in the late 60s and early 70s.
Yeah,
so
in fact,
people,
that new Nick Fury series is an homage to that whole run of Nick Fury that he did.
right. So, about once a year, you see a cover like this, and the whole thing's an homage to Jim Steranko. This book's okay. I mean, it's got the art's really good. I got the Thanos book open, so I don't know who the artist is, but the art's really good. Silver Sable, because of the state of the economy in her country, has started taking mercenary contracts again. These people have a hostage on a boat, and they call it Silver Sable in the Wild Pack. It's really just Silver Sable. I don't know the rest of the Wild Pack is, man, because they ain't here. There's about one person she's talking to in a headphone. That's it. And Silver Sable goes in and rescues them. If you're a fan of Silver Sable, this is a good looking book. Let me put it this way. Silver Sable looks good. The villains look good. Okay. Who all happen to be women. So you can, you can figure out what I'm inferring there. The whole book looks good. Okay. And the story wasn't bad. It was good writing. It's just, I'm not really into another Silver Sable in the Wolfpack book. It's not something I need in my life.
Yeah, sure. Especially when it's a one shot and you're not getting any more of it.
Yeah. And apparently what they're doing is at the end, there's a page saying, hey, if you want more Silver Sable in the Wild Pack, go here. So apparently with each of these one shots, they were just floating them out there to see how well they sold. I guess. I don't know, man. That appeared to be what happened.
Probably one of those, hey, the theme is legacy. Let's do a handful of one shots to see if we can relaunch some of these old series. And if they're popular, yes, we'll issue limited runs or something.
Yeah. So anywho,
Thanos number 13.
Thanos number 13. I'm really distracted by this book because there's so much going on here. Donnie Cates is writing it. Great writing. Jeff Shaw's drawing it, and Antonio Fabela is coloring it. It's a great book. The title of this issue and this series is Thanos Wins. And what's essentially happened is in the first 12 issues, Thanos was sick, lost his power. Last issue, he got powered up again. Now that he's powered up again, he's just going around randomly destroying worlds because, hey, that's what Thanos does. And he comes to the world of the Chitauri, and specifically the world, if you've seen those big flying ships that are in the Avengers, and they look like a whale, and then all Chitauri come out of it. Well, those are living beings, and this is the homeworld of those living beings. And Thanos, he kills everyone, finds her later, kills him, finds somebody else and says, that guy says, I'm the spokesman. Well, I don't need a spokesman. Kills him. Then somebody else says, can I have just a moment? A moment, please. Since we've yielded to you and we've given you our planet, can you please tell your herald to stop killing our people in outer space? And Thanos has got, well, I got no herald, and I don't know what you're talking about. Turns out it's a cosmic ghost rider. And
okay.
He finally gets Thanos' attention. And after, of course, the few requisite pages of them fighting, he takes Thanos somewhere else where Thanos is, you find out what's happening in the future.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I really got to catch up on this book, man. Apparently it's been really good.
If you haven't read the first 12 issues, this issue is a good leaping on point because you can ignore the first 12 issues and just start here. And all this is leading into the Infinity Crisis, whatever they're calling it this time.
Infinity Crisis. That's DC.
Infinity War, Infinity Crisis, Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the Infinity Gauntlet War countdown.
Yes. Anyway, 13 launches a new story arc, and it's a very good jumping on place for people like you who haven't been reading it.
Cool. Then I'll just pick up with number 13.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mighty Captain Marvel 126, titled Dark Origins. If we remember in the last issue, Carol disappeared across the precipice of a portal of some kind. She wakes up above Earth, but as she quickly finds out, it's not her Earth, it's a alternate dimension, or not an alternate dimension, but an alternate universe where they don't have Alpha Flight, they have Zeta Flight, and all of the Alpha Flight people are different, and Agent Brand isn't an agent. She's a dog and a mascot for Zeta Flight. And Black Widow's a bad guy, and that's who Carol Danvers is fighting. And yeah. Meanwhile, the villains that we saw in the last couple issues are searching an old cavern for something, some sort of stone. I think it's one of the Infinity Gems. As soon as they recover it, both of them get shot and killed by Lord Starkill, which is an evil version of Peter Quill. So yeah. Have you ever seen Through the Mirror Darkly?
Of course.
Okay. This is the Captain Marvel version of that.
We've all seen anyone who hasn't needs to have their if not their nerd card revoked, at least a lot of points demoted.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on to Star Wars books, we had Star Wars number 39, written by Karen Gillan, fantastic art by Salvador Larroca. And in the last couple of issues, this is part 2 of the storyline, The Ashes of Jedha. And do you remember Rogue One? Jedha was the planet that the Death Star blew up. Apparently, part of that planet still exists, and there are still plenty of people living on it. The Empire wants to mine all the Kyber crystal out of it, but that's become hard because everyone living on the planet is a rebel. Well, now Luke, Leia, and Han have been captured by what remains of Saul Guerrera's team of rebels, who I can't remember. Benthic was his second in command. He's the weird looking alien dude that's on the cover with the weird respirator mask thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, Leia has come to them to say, look, we understand that in the past, our group of rebels and yours have had differences over methodology. We feel that at this time, we can set those differences aside in sake of fighting the Empire. And that maybe we have issues with what you guys do, but at this point in time, we're willing to overlook them if it means, knocking the Empire on their behinds. Understand, this is after the first Death Star has been destroyed. So, they're on the offensive. Yeah, it was a good issue. You get to see, Luke gets to see what Jedha looks like at this point. We get a little more about that. He gets into a fight with some stormtroopers. You've got, some high-ranking officers of the Empire scheming things. Yeah, it was good.
I haven't been reading this book consistently because I forget that Salvador Larroca draws it, and his art is just amazing. It is the photorealistic art that I enjoy, and he is one of the best at it.
Yeah, he's really good, and
there's
really good at
of that style of art. There's probably Alex Ross, Greg Land, and Salvador Larroca are 3 that just immediately come to mind.
Yeah, I agree. So, what was your favorite book this week?
Probably X-Men Gold number 16. And here's why. For the first year and a half of this podcast, you and I admitted that the X-Men weren't being the X-Men. They were fighting the legacy virus. They had that whole Inhuman thing going on, and it's been a decade, since the 198 thing, where there haven't been good X-Men stories, and particularly in X-Men Gold, where you have that classic core series of X-Men. They're returning to that. They're taking them back to outer space. They're putting them back to being the hunted mutant race. They're just returning to X-Men 101, and they're doing it very, very well.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. And it was good. I'm going to have to go with either Star Wars 39 or maybe Moon Girl 25.
That Star Wars book was very good.
Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed seeing Saul Guerrera's group of rebels again, because I always thought they were interesting, because if you haven't seen Rogue One, Saw Gerrera was a leader of. They were rebels, but they were really more mercenaries than anything, and they were willing to go to lengths that the other rebel factions were not. They are willing to kill innocent people if it means, shoving it to the Empire. So, yeah, their methodologies are extreme.
Yeah.
And that's always been the problem. So getting to see them again and bringing them into the fold of the regular Rebel Alliance is cool. I like the Moon Girl thing because it's all tying into the Return of the Fantastic Four.
Sure. In the dump this week, it's like someone at Marvel is listening to our podcast and they're trying to make me happy because they're doing so. Because yes, there's some Warlock books, which I don't care about. Yes, there's some Venom books, which, maybe somebody cares about. But I have lamented for over 2 years now that the Silver Surfer is a very important series from the late 80s, early 90s, and it hasn't been in here. And this week we get the first 14 issues. We get another Marvel team up book. It warms my heart. It does.
You've been looking forward to these coming to Unlimited for.
Well, I mean, it's just the Defenders not being there, the Marvel team up books not being there, the Silver Surfer, with everything Marvel's doing with the Infinity Gauntlet, the Silver Surfer book not being there is just an enormous hole. It just is. Here's the thing. Twice Marvel rebooted their Cosmic line. Once was about 10 years ago when you got the new Guardians of the Galaxies that are in theaters now. Okay. And have been in theaters the last few years. The other time was in 1985 or 86 when they launched this series, and Steve Englehart and eventually Jim Starlin started relaunching it. And if you just look at the cover of these, I mean, you've got all the cosmic characters. So they relaunch it here. About issue 35, you start building toward Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet, which I think it starts in number 50. You get Infinity Gauntlet number 1. All of that is crucial to what Marvel is doing in the Marvel Universe now, Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's not in the Unlimited. I don't understand it.
Dude, I hear you.
I just haven't understood. Same thing with Defenders. You got a Defenders TV show on Netflix. You got all those characters there, and you don't have the Defenders books in Unlimited. Why? What? Someone sitting at the top of Marvel doesn't cross promote all these things.
Right. It's kind of a trope in business to talk about synergy and cross promotion, but literally, I mean, there's no synergy or cross promotion here.
No,
those are buzzwords that people kind of roll their eyes at, but for real, there's not any going on in the Marvel line. And I think that's why you're seeing comic book sales not perform as well as they ought to be doing.
Dude, I don't care what it cost. Somewhere in the trailers of Avengers Infinity War, Avengers number 3, when we're all sitting there waiting for the next scenes, you put, by the way, you can read about these characters in Marvel Unlimited for $9.99 a month. Or put this code in and get it 30 days for free.
Yeah, or, on Comixology, or check your local comic book shop and go to this website. Here's a little banner with the website where you can find your local comic book shop.
Dude, and all the dozens of emails they send me every week. Cross-promote all of it.
Yes,
and they don't.
The billions of dollars that they spend promoting those movies, they could spend half a percentage of it and promote their comic books. And they're all going, "Our comic books aren't selling. We don't know what the problem is." Maybe because nobody knows.
I spent $10 for a souvenir cup. It's got the Cinematic Universe actors on it. Nothing about any of the comic books, nothing about Marvel Unlimited, nothing about a comic book store, nothing. Put a free digital code on it for whatever. Okay? Right. And there's nothing on those cups. And how many hundreds of thousands of those cups did they give away opening weekend?
Yeah. And I imagine this is, probably something that if we went to CB Cebulski or Joe Quesada, they'd go, "Yeah, dude, we get it." But they aren't the ones who make those decisions.
Apparently not, man. Apparently the people at Disney are too busy worrying about ESPN and Roseanne Barr to worry about a company that's making them tens of millions of dollars that could be making them hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. It's making them billions.
Yes.
Could be making tens of billions.
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, while you're not handing out comic books to the first, on opening night of Avengers to the first 100 people that pass through, I don't know.
Dude, I because as easily as you got those souvenir cups there, you could get a free comic day comic book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, we're going to talk about our classic read now. Speaking of movies, Solo came out in theaters this week. I've not seen it yet. I'm probably going to go see it Wednesday. People are saying it's tanking at the box office. I don't think it's tanking. I think it just didn't have the strongest opening weekend, probably because you've had 3 or 4 blockbuster movies in the span of as many weeks. So, people are just kind of picking and choosing what they see or waiting a week or two for the crowds to clear out.
I don't think so, man. It's bad this weekend too.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Dude, I'll save my judgment for when I've actually seen the movie.
I think it's something you and I talked about. I think it's just an event fatigue.
Yeah, it is.
And again, you and I discussed this. I mean, this year Marvel rolled out Black Panther, Infinity War, Deadpool, just back to back to back. And Black Panther and Infinity War, Infinity War is over $2 billion. Black Panther is over $1 billion. There's only so much money people have to spend to go to the theaters.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you can only take a family of 4 to see a movie so many times before you're just like, dude, we're tapped out. Plus, it's summertime. People got other things going on. Lots of people are taking vacations right now because the summer just started and all the kids got out of school. You just had a Star Wars movie back in December. You had the blockbuster of Black Panther in February. April and May have been Avengers and Deadpool. Dude, plus, you got Jurassic World coming. You got Incredibles next week. People are picking and choosing what movies they see, and dude, Solo wasn't it.
And it's one of those things that you'll look back and it'll make money. Okay.
And by the way, it's still the 4th largest opening movie this year. So,
but it just didn't do what they expected it to. And it'll make money. They'll make it up on the back end with rentals and Blu-ray sales, and merchandising. I mean, they'll make it up. It won't lose money. The question becomes, does it generate enough money for a sequel?
I don't think it's going to generate enough money for a sequel. It might generate a spinoff because a lot of people were really excited to see Donald Glover play Lando. And now he did so well in the movie that people are talking about a Lando spinoff movie. Which brings us to our classic read, which is the Lando miniseries from 2015, written by Charles Soule and art by Alex Maleev. 5-issue miniseries, all about Lando, kind of his origin story of like, not how he became a smuggler, but it all takes place before A New Hope. He gets contracted to steal a spaceship from somebody, and just long story
gets a whole lot more than he bargained for.
Yeah, the person that spaceship belongs to is not happy about it, and is someone who has the resources to make Lando's life very miserable. So great series. It's only like 5 issues. If you've seen Solo this week and you're like, man, I really like Donald Glover's Lando, where can I get some more of that? There it is.
Yeah. And it's an evening's read. At 5 issues, you sit and read it in a couple hours.
Yeah. Dude, you can knock it out in an hour or two.
Yeah.
Anyway, that pretty much wraps us up this week. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That is the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com.
You can visit the website at www.6monthsbehind.com. How many W's did I say?
Enough. And hit us up on Twitter at 6monthsbehind.
Be with someone who knows what they have when they have you.
I don't know what that means, but okay. That's your wisdom for the week.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Be with someone who cherishes you, who values you as a person.
That's probably a good thing.
We're both sleep deprived and the caffeine's running out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Okay, you want to do what's next, or you want to do it
No,
Wednesday?
I'm beat, man. Let's
Okay.
do it Wednesday.
I'm in.
I'm not joking about running out of energy, man. I've driven home.
Dude, I don't blame you.
Renee's back is hurting her, so, and Amanda's still on crutches, so I had to unload everything and put it up, and I am tapped out, brother.
It seems like one of you is always crippled at some point. If it's not you in the boot, it's Amanda or
I discussed with Pastor Johnny a couple of weeks ago. My buddy Rick, he had that act of stupidity a couple of years ago where he tore his Achilles tendon while on a mountain bike. And that was a complete act of stupidity is what caused it. That's like the only time he's been sick or in the hospital in his life. My boss Rocky is never sick. Never. Amanda and Renee and I are just these people who are just always sick. Always.
Yeah.
And there are some people who are always sick, some people who aren't. Johnny's like, well, it's three things. You live in a cursed world, you got bad genes, and you have an enemy who hates you. So there you go. Just bad luck.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
And this was the guy saying it who, had lost a baby about a week before. So
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'll hit you up sometime. Call me tomorrow.
I'll call you tomorrow.
All right, man.
See you, buddy.